Hello and welcome back to Mr. English Lab. My name is Emma, and I'm here to guide you on your journey to clear, confident, and natural English. If you're new here, make sure to hit the subscribe button so you never miss a lesson. Your support truly helps this channel grow. Alright, take a deep breath, relax, and let's begin today's session. Listen closely, my friend, because this story begins in a very quiet way. Not with thunder, not with action, but with a simple morning. A morning that looked just like every other morning in the life of a man named Daniel. Now, let me ask you something. Have you ever had a day that felt heavy? A day where you woke up, opened your eyes, and something inside whispered, "I don't want to do this again." That kind of morning, the slow one, the tired one, that was Daniel's morning. He was 34 years old. Not old, not young, just somewhere in between, floating through life like a small boat without wind. He lived in a small apartment. The type of apartment where mornings feel cold even when the sun is shining, and when Daniel opened his eyes that day, he felt something strange, something uncomfortable, like a quiet question was sitting in his chest. He sat up in bed. He rubbed his eyes. And he said, very softly, "Why do I feel like this every day?" His voice sounded tired, not the tired from sleep, no. A deeper tired. The tiredness that comes from doing the same things again and again, without any meaning, without any joy. He walked to the bathroom. He looked at himself in the mirror. His hair was messy. His face looked pale. His eyes looked like small windows without light. He whispered, "This can't be my life, can it?" And maybe you understand that feeling. Maybe you have had mornings like this too. Mornings when your heart feels a little heavy and your mind feels a little lost. But here is the most important part. Sometimes, the mornings that feel the worst are the mornings that change everything. And this morning, this quiet, cold, heavy morning, was the beginning of the biggest change in Daniel's life. He made a simple breakfast, toast, tea. Nothing special. He sat alone at his small table. The room was quiet. Too quiet. And as he took a bite of his toast, something surprising happened. He suddenly stopped chewing. He looked out the window, and he felt a thought rise inside him like a small wave. What if I try to live differently? What if I make my life just a little better? What if I build small habits, habits that can help me feel alive again? At that moment, he didn't know what those habits would be. He didn't know how to start. He didn't even believe in himself yet. But he felt something he hadn't felt in a long time, a spark. A tiny, gentle spark. Have you ever felt a spark like that? It doesn't shout. It doesn't push. It whispers. And that whisper said to Daniel, "Try. Just try." After finishing breakfast, he put on his shoes. Slowly. Without any plan. He opened the door of his apartment. He stepped outside. Cold air touched his face. He didn't know why he went outside. Maybe he just wanted a change. Maybe he wanted to escape the heavy silence of his room. He began walking, past the small shops, past the bakery, past the old tree on the corner. And as he walked, something inside him felt different. It wasn't happiness. It wasn't excitement. It was something softer, something smaller, a gentle feeling of movement. Movement in his mind, movement in his heart, movement in his life. And movement, even small movement, can change everything. As he turned the corner, he noticed an old woman sitting on a bench. She was smiling at the birds, feeding them gently, like she had all the time in the world. Daniel watched her for a moment, and she looked at him with warm eyes and said, "Beautiful morning, isn't it?" Daniel didn't know why, but her simple words touched him, maybe because no one had spoken to him that kindly in a long time, maybe because her smile felt like sunlight on a cold day. He nodded and said, "Yes, it is." And for the first time in months, maybe years, he felt alive, just a little, just a small spark. He continued walking, The air felt a little lighter, his mind felt a little softer. And as he returned home, he whispered to himself, I want more days like this. Even small ones. He didn't know it yet, but this was the start of his journey, a journey of healthy habits, a journey of slow change, a journey of learning to live again. When he closed his apartment door behind him, something felt different. Not the room, not the air, not the light. He felt different. And that's how the story begins. Later that same day, when Daniel sat at his table again, he felt that strange spark still moving inside him, not big, not loud, just warm enough to make him think. He looked around his small apartment, the same walls, the same chair, the same quiet. But now, something was different. He felt a question growing inside. What is one small habit, just one, that I can start today? He didn't want anything big. He didn't want to change his entire life in one moment. He just wanted to begin. To take the first soft step. He looked at his empty teacup. He looked at the window. He looked at his hands resting on the table. And then, without planning it, without thinking too deeply, he said out loud, I will walk every morning, even if it's just for 5 minutes. 5 minutes, such a small amount of time, but sometimes the smallest decisions create the biggest doors. He smiled a little, almost shyly, as if he was embarrassed to make such a simple promise. But here is the truth. For someone like Daniel, tired, lost, stuck, a 5-minute walk was not small. It was huge. It was brave. Have you ever promised something small to yourself? Something you knew you could do, but still felt difficult? That's exactly how Daniel felt. He wrote his new habit on a sticky note, just 4 words, morning walk. 5 minutes. He placed it on the wall near his door so he would see it first thing in the morning. But the moment he put it on the wall, a voice in his mind whispered, You will quit. You always quit. And maybe you know that voice too, the voice that tries to make you stop before you even start, the voice that says you are too tired, too busy, too weak. Daniel closed his eyes. He took a deep breath and he whispered back, Not this time. That night, he went to bed early, not because he felt tired, but because, for the first time in a long time, he felt a reason to wake up. When morning came, he opened his eyes slowly. The room was still quiet, the light was still soft. And for a moment, he felt the same heaviness as before, that old familiar weight, the tiredness that lived deep inside him. But then, he saw the sticky note on the wall, morning walk. 5 minutes. He stared at it. He breathed out, and he sat up. He put on his shoes. He stood by the door, his hand touched the doorknob. He hesitated. He thought, It's cold outside. I can walk later. I don't feel ready. But then he remembered the smile of the old woman feeding the birds, her voice saying, Beautiful morning, isn't it? And he opened the door. The morning air touched his face again, cool. Fresh, almost like the world was welcoming him. He began walking, slow steps, gentle steps. 5 minutes. He didn't go far, just down the street, past the bakery again, past the old tree again. But this time, the walk felt different, because it had a meaning, because it was a promise he was keeping. After 5 minutes, he stopped. He looked up at the sky. He breathed deeply. For the first time in many months, his lungs felt open, his mind felt peaceful, his heart felt softer. He whispered, maybe I can do this. He walked back home slowly, quietly, thoughtfully. Inside his apartment, he poured himself a cup of warm tea, and as he sat down, something magical happened. A small feeling of pride filled his chest. He had done it. A small habit. 1 simple walk, but it felt like a victory. He wrote down in a small notebook, Day 1, I walked. It felt good. And a tiny smile lifted the corners of his mouth. A real smile. He didn't know it yet, But this small 5-minute walk was the beginning of a powerful chain. A chain of small habits that would slowly change his life, one day at a time. You see, habits don't need to be big, they don't need to be perfect. They need to be consistent, real, gentle. Just like Daniel's first walk. And tomorrow, he would walk again, and the next day, and the next day. And slowly, the walk would change him, his body, his mind, his heart. The next morning arrived quietly, just like every morning before it. But somehow, this morning felt different to Daniel. Not because the sun was brighter, not because the air was warmer, not because something big happened. No, it felt different because he felt different. He woke up slowly and looked around his small apartment. The same space, but a new feeling inside him. A soft excitement. A quiet hope. A tiny spark that said, "You can try again today." He sat up in bed and listened to the silence. The world outside hadn't changed at all. Cars still moved, birds still sang, people still hurried. Life was the same. But inside Daniel's heart, something was moving, something gentle, something calm. He rubbed his eyes and smiled softly when he saw the sticky note near the door. Morning walk. 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes. He could do that. He did do that yesterday, and he could do it again today. He got dressed slowly. No rush. No pressure. Only a promise he wanted to keep. He opened the door. Cold morning air touched his face, waking him up instantly. He stepped outside, and for a moment, he felt the same old fear. What if I stop? What if I fail? What if this is just another habit I will forget? But then he remembered something important. Yesterday, he felt proud. Yesterday, he felt alive. Yesterday, he felt something good, and he wanted to feel that again. So he began walking. His steps were slow at first. His breathing was steady. He didn't try to walk fast or far. He didn't try to be strong or impressive. He just tried to be present. He passed the bakery again. The smell of fresh bread filled the air, warm and soft, almost comforting. He passed the old tree again. Its branches moved gently in the light morning wind, almost like it was waving hello. And as he walked, something interesting happened. He noticed things he had never seen before. The colors of the flowers near a small shop, the cracks in the sidewalk that formed strange shapes, the sound of a bicycle bell in the distance, the laughter of 2 children heading to school. It was like the world was waking up around him, and for the first time in a long time, he felt like he was waking up too. Have you ever had a moment like that? A moment when you realized you were part of something larger? A moment when your small step felt like a big connection to the world? That's how Daniel felt. Suddenly, he heard a familiar voice. Beautiful morning, isn't it? It was the same old woman from yesterday, the one with the soft smile and warm eyes. She sat on the same bench, feeding the birds again. Daniel felt his chest warm. He walked toward her, smiling gently. "Yes," he said. "It really is." She looked at him with a curious, joyful expression and said, "You're walking again. That's good. Movement is life, you know." Movement is life. Those words stayed inside Daniel's mind like a little seed. He nodded, thanked her softly, and continued walking. 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes. Then he turned back. And as he reached his apartment door, he felt something that surprised him. He didn't want to stop. He wanted to keep going. Not today, not tomorrow, but someday soon. He wanted to walk longer. He entered his apartment, made tea, and wrote in his notebook, "Day 2, I walked again." The world felt alive. So did I. And he smiled, a smile that felt a little bigger than yesterday. On the 3rd morning, Daniel woke up before his alarm. He didn't know why. His body just knew it was time to walk. He sat on the edge of his bed and stretched his arms. Something inside him felt lighter. A bit freer. A bit stronger. He got dressed, opened the door, and stepped outside, and this time, He didn't walk slowly. He walked with a tiny bit more energy, a tiny bit more purpose. The bakery smell felt sweeter. The air felt fresher. Even the sky looked brighter to him. Maybe nothing had changed outside. Maybe it was only him who was changing. But when you change on the inside, the world changes with you. As he walked, he felt proud of himself. Not loudly proud, quietly proud. The kind of pride that warms you without showing off. He walked his usual 5 minutes and turned around, but then something unexpected happened. He stopped. He looked back at the street behind him. He looked at the road ahead of him. And he made a small decision, a decision that felt bigger than it looked. He said softly, "Maybe I can walk just one more minute." Just one more minute, such a small thing, but for Daniel, it was a step toward a new life. So he walked. One extra minute. And that small extra minute felt like a celebration, like a gift he was giving himself. He turned around and walked home, and as he reached his door, he felt something exciting growing inside him. A habit. A real habit, not a forced one. Not a heavy one. A gentle habit that made him feel good. He poured himself tea, sat at the table, and wrote, "Day 3, I walked 6 minutes. Just one extra minute." But it felt powerful. He stared at the words for a long moment. 6 minutes. It didn't sound like much, but to him, it felt like climbing a small mountain. That afternoon, Daniel felt something new, a kind of quiet energy in his body. A soft sense of strength. He noticed that he wasn't as tired as usual. He wasn't as heavy. He wasn't as lost. He felt a small piece of himself returning, a piece he thought he had lost forever. He made dinner. He cleaned the dishes. He even opened his windows to let the fresh air inside. He wasn't becoming a new person in one day, but step by step, breath by breath, morning by morning, he was becoming someone better. Someone he liked, someone he respected, someone who cared for himself. And the more he walked, the more he felt connected to his life again. He felt like he was rebuilding his world, slowly, one quiet step at a time. But here is the interesting part: habits don't grow in straight lines. Some days are easy, some days are harder. And soon, Daniel would face a morning that tested him, a morning that could break the habit or make it stronger. But that part of the story. On the 4th morning, something very different happened, something Daniel didn't expect, something that tested his new habit the moment he opened his eyes. He woke up and felt tired, not just a little tired, deep tired, heavy tired. His body felt like it didn't want to move, his legs felt slow, his mind felt foggy. He sat up in bed and sighed softly. His room felt cold, his blanket felt warm, and for the first time since he started walking, he thought, "Maybe I can skip today." The voice inside him whispered, "You've done enough. You can take a break. Just stay in bed." And maybe you know that voice too. It feels soft and kind, but it is not your friend. It tries to protect you, but it also holds you back. Daniel looked at the sticky note near the door. Morning walk. 5 minutes. He stared at it for a long, long time. His mind felt tired. His body felt tired, and he thought again. Maybe missing one day is not a big deal. But then, something happened. Something small, something gentle, something that came from his heart, not his tired mind. He remembered the way he felt after his first walk, that tiny pride, that soft joy, that warm spark. He remembered the old woman on the bench saying, "Movement is life." He remembered his notebook where he wrote, "Day 1, I walked. Day 2, the world felt alive. Day 3, 1 extra minute." And he realized something important. He didn't want to lose that feeling. Not today, not like this. So he whispered to himself, "Just get up. Just put your feet on the floor." No big promise. And no big pressure. Just a small step, feet on the floor. He moved his legs slowly. He stood up slowly. He breathed slowly. He put on his shoes. It took longer than usual. His hands moved slowly, like they were half asleep. When he opened the door, the cold morning air hit him hard. It wasn't the soft, cool air he felt before. It was sharp, cold, uncomfortable. He almost closed the door and went back to bed, almost. But he didn't. He stepped outside. His first steps were heavy. He walked slowly. His body complained. His mind complained. He thought this was a mistake. I should have stayed home. I can't do this today. But he kept going. One step, then another, then another. And something amazing happened. After 1 minute, his legs felt a little warmer. After 2 minutes, his breathing felt smoother. After 3 minutes, his mind felt less foggy. After 4 minutes, his heart felt lighter. And by the time he reached the bakery, something changed inside him. He felt alive again. He stood still for a moment, closed his eyes, and whispered, "Thank you for not giving up." His body felt better now. His mind felt clearer. His heart felt proud. And he realized something very important. Some days you feel motivated. Some days you feel strong. But the days that change your life the most are the days when you don't want to do anything and you do it anyway. Those are the days when habits become real. Those are the days when you grow. Those are the days when you show yourself who you truly are. He finished his 5-minute walk and returned home, but inside, he felt like he had climbed a mountain. He felt like a winner. He sat at his table, opened his notebook, and wrote, "Day 4, I didn't want to walk, but I walked anyway. I am proud of myself." And as he closed the notebook, he felt something strong, stronger than motivation, stronger than excitement, stronger than the spark he felt on day 1. He felt commitment. He felt discipline. He felt like someone who was becoming better. That morning didn't stop him. It made him stronger. And every habit. Over the next few days, something beautiful and gentle began to happen in Daniel's life. Something so small that he almost didn't notice it at first. His morning walk started to feel easier, warmer, more natural. He didn't have to fight with himself every morning. He didn't have to force his body to move. He didn't have to argue with his tired mind. He simply got up, put on his shoes, opened the door, and walked. His steps were smoother now. His breathing was calmer. His eyes were more open to the world. He saw the same bakery every morning, and one day, the baker waved at him. He passed the old tree and noticed new green leaves appearing. He saw the old woman on the bench, and she smiled every time she saw him. Day by day, the world began to open for him, and inside, he began to open too. One morning, on day 7, Daniel woke up before the sun. He didn't feel tired. He didn't feel heavy. He felt something else. He felt excited. Not excited like a child on a holiday. Not excited like someone who won a prize. It was quieter than that, softer, but real. He wanted to walk. He wanted to move. He wanted to continue this little promise he made to himself. So he stepped outside early. When the sky was still dark blue and the world was quiet. He walked slowly at first, enjoying the cool air, but then, without thinking, his steps became faster. He didn't notice he was walking longer. He didn't notice he was walking farther. He didn't notice how good it felt. He only noticed the sound of his feet on the ground, the sound of his breath, the soft rhythm of his heart. And by the time he looked around, something amazing happened. He had walked for 15 minutes. 15 minutes, triple what he started with, and he didn't even plan it. He stopped on the sidewalk. He looked up at the sky. His chest felt warm. His eyes felt a little wet, not from sadness, from pride, from surprise, from joy. He whispered, "I did it." Without trying. I did it. That was the moment when Daniel realized that habits can grow on their own when you take care of them gently. He walked back home with a smile, a deep smile, a smile that came from the heart, a smile that stayed even after he opened his apartment door. He wrote in his notebook, Day 7. I walked 15 minutes today. I didn't plan it. My habit is growing. And so am I. He touched the page with his fingers, like he was touching a new part of himself, a stronger part, a hopeful part, a part he thought he lost long ago. And that day, Daniel made a silent promise, a promise that felt powerful, even though he didn't say it out loud. I will keep going. Even when it's hard. Even when it's slow. I will keep going. But he had no idea that his walking habit, this small, simple habit, would soon change more than just his mornings. By the 8th morning, Daniel's walks were no longer just something he did. They were becoming a part of him, a soft, steady rhythm in his life, like the quiet beat of a gentle song. He woke earlier than usual. The sun was still stretching its light across the sky, soft and sleepy. The city was waking up slowly, like a child rubbing its eyes. Daniel sat up in bed and smiled, not a big smile, not an excited smile, but a comfortable smile, like the smile you have when you see an old friend. Walking was becoming that old friend. He got dressed, tied his shoes, opened his door, and stepped outside. The cool air touched his face and made him breathe a little deeper. He liked that feeling now, that first breath of the morning, the breath that told him, "You're starting again." He walked past the bakery and smelled the warm bread. He passed the old tree, now full of fresh leaves dancing in the morning wind. He passed the bench where the old woman always sat. But today, she wasn't there. At first, he felt a small worry. Her presence had become familiar, like a small comfort in his morning routine. But then he reminded himself that life moves, people move, and habits grow even when the world feels a little different. He kept walking. 10 minutes passed, then 15, then 20. Daniel didn't plan it. He didn't force it. His body simply wanted to keep going. But something interesting happened. Something small but important. As he walked, his mind started thinking not in a heavy way, but in a bright, open way. He thought about his future. He thought about what he wanted. He thought about who he was becoming. It wasn't scary anymore. It wasn't confusing. It wasn't painful. It was hopeful. He realized something powerful. When he walked, his mind became clear. When he walked, his problems felt smaller. When he walked, he could hear himself, his true self, the self he had been ignoring for years. When he returned home, he made tea as usual, but this time, he didn't sit down right away. He cleaned his kitchen a little. He opened his window to let sunlight in. He moved around without thinking about it. Walking was creating movement in his whole day. Later, at work, his coworkers even noticed. One of them asked, "Daniel, you look different. You look relaxed." Daniel laughed softly. Relaxed? He didn't know he could look relaxed. But maybe he was. For the first time in a long time, he didn't feel like he was carrying something heavy inside. He felt lighter, not because his life became easy, but because he became stronger. That evening, he returned home feeling peaceful. He made dinner. He cleaned. He listened to music. His body felt warm and comfortable. His mind felt clear. And before he went to bed, he picked up his notebook and wrote, Day 8. My walk made my whole day better. Healthy habits grow in small ways, even when you don't see them. He closed the notebook gently, and as he lay down in bed, he felt something he didn't expect to feel tonight. He felt proud to be himself, even just a little. He didn't know it yet, but the next day would bring something new, a small surprise, a new voice. On the 9th morning, Daniel stepped outside ready for his walk, but before he took even 5 steps, he heard a voice behind him. "Morning," He turned around and saw a man he had seen before, a neighbor from 2 floors down. A friendly man in his early 40s with kind eyes and a big smile. "Morning," Daniel replied. "I see you walking every day now," the man said. "That's great. Good habit." Daniel felt his face warm a little. He wasn't used to people noticing him. He wasn't used to people praising him. He smiled shyly. "Thank you. I just started walking. Only a few minutes each day." "That's how it begins," the neighbor said. "Small steps. They make big changes." They walked together for a moment down the sidewalk. The morning air felt calm and gentle around them. "What made you start?" the neighbor asked. His voice was friendly, not pushy. He asked like someone who really wanted to know. Daniel thought for a moment. How could he explain it? How could he explain the heaviness he felt before? How could he explain the spark he felt now? He said softly, "I was tired. Not from work, not from life, but from myself. So I decided to do something small, something I could keep." The neighbor nodded like he understood. "I know that feeling," he said. "I started running 2 years ago for the same reason. I just wanted to breathe again." Daniel looked at him with surprise. He never imagined this man, this energetic, smiling man, ever struggled with something like that. "You?" Daniel asked. The neighbor laughed. "Oh yes. I was a mess. No energy, no motivation, no balance in life at all." "What changed?" Daniel asked. "Consistency," the man said softly. "Not speed. Not strength. Not big goals, just small, gentle consistency. One day at a time." Those words entered Daniel's mind like a warm light. Small consistency. One day at a time. That sounded like the exact journey he was on. The neighbor slowed his pace and pointed toward his street. "Well, this is where I turn. Keep walking, Daniel. You're doing great." Daniel smiled. "Thank you. Really. See you tomorrow," the neighbor said and walked away with a cheerful wave. Daniel stood still for a moment. The world felt quiet again, but something inside him felt fuller. Someone saw him. Someone understood him. Someone believed in him. That small conversation, that warm, simple exchange, did something powerful inside Daniel. It made him realize he wasn't walking alone. The world around him was walking with him, encouraging him, supporting him in invisible ways. He began walking again, and now each step felt a little stronger. A little lighter. A little brighter. On that day, he walked 20 minutes, not because he planned it, not because he forced it, but because he felt connected to himself, to his neighbor, to the world around him. When he returned home, he wrote in his notebook, "Day 9. Someone noticed my habit. Someone understood. And now my habit feels even more real." He closed the notebook and touched the cover softly. This was more than a habit now. It was becoming part of his identity, part of his healing, part of his future. And soon, that habit would lead him into something deeper, something emotional, something he had avoided for a long time. But that part of the story is coming in the next section. Not bad, not good, just different. The air in his room felt heavier than usual. His thoughts felt slower. His body felt a little stiff. He sat up and rubbed his hands together, trying to warm himself, but the heaviness stayed. He looked at the sticky note on the wall. Morning walk. 5 minutes. He didn't smile at it this time. He didn't feel excited. He felt something else, something old, something he thought he had left behind. A sadness. A memory. A quiet, heavy piece of the past. He tried to push it away. He tried to shake it off. He tried to pretend everything was normal. But feelings don't disappear just because you tell them to. Daniel put on his shoes and opened the door. The morning air touched his face, but the fresh coolness didn't wake him up this time. He felt tired, but not the tired of the body, the tired of the heart. He began walking slowly. His steps were soft and quiet, like he was afraid of breaking something inside him. The bakery's smell felt far away today. The old tree looked dull. Even the sky felt colorless. And then, something happened. He saw a dog running across the street, a small brown dog with big ears and an excited tail. It stopped in front of him, looked up, and for a moment, Daniel froze. Because 2 years ago, he had a dog just like that. Her name was Sunny. She was his best friend. She was with him on his good days and his bad days. She made him laugh when life felt too heavy. But Sunny got sick, and one cold morning, she was gone. Daniel felt his chest tighten, his throat felt warm, his eyes felt wet. The brown dog barked happily and ran away. The sound echoed inside him like a small, painful memory. He tried to keep walking, but the sadness followed him. Every step felt heavy, every breath felt full of emotion. He sat down on a small bench near the corner of the street. He put his elbows on his knees and his face in his hands, and for a moment, he just breathed. Slowly, deeply, trying not to cry, trying to hold himself together. But sometimes, holding yourself together hurts more than letting yourself feel. He lifted his head and whispered, "I miss you, Sunny." The words felt strange on his tongue. He hadn't said them out loud in a long time. Maybe he was afraid of remembering. Maybe he was afraid of feeling. But now, sitting on that bench, in the quiet morning, he finally allowed himself to feel. And something surprising happened. The sadness didn't break him. The sadness didn't crush him. It moved through him softly, like a wave that washes over the sand and then quietly returns to the sea. For the first time in 2 years, he let his heart open a little. He let the memory breathe. And in that moment, he realized something important. Walking was not only helping his body. It was helping his heart. It was cleaning old feelings like gentle rain. It was giving him space to feel things he had been pushing down. He wasn't just healing his mornings. He was healing his past. After a while, he stood up slowly. His legs still felt heavy, but his mind felt clearer. He walked home with slow steps. Inside, he made tea and sat at the table. He didn't write in his notebook immediately. He just held the pen and breathed. Finally, he wrote, "Day 10, I remembered Sunny today. It hurt, but maybe walking is helping me heal." He closed the notebook gently, and for the first time, he allowed himself to feel proud not for walking, but for feeling. Little did he know, the next morning would give him a strange gift, a gift of space. Daniel woke up feeling quiet inside, not sad like yesterday, not light like the days before, just calm. It was the calm that comes after a deep cry, after a heavy memory, after a storm of emotion you didn't expect. He sat up and looked at the window. Soft sunlight touched the curtain, like the morning was whispering to him, "I'm here. You can start again." He stood up and stretched his arms. His body felt a little stiff, but in a gentle way, like it had done something important and now needed a moment of peace. He put on his shoes and stepped outside. This time, the morning air felt warm, comforting, kind. He walked slowly, not because he was tired, but because he wanted to. He wanted to feel each step, feel each breath, feel the world around him. The bakery's smell felt sweet again. The leaves on the old tree glowed in the sunlight. The sky looked painted with perfect soft colors. And inside him, something was changing. As he walked, he felt a soft wave of sadness again, but it didn't scare him this time. He let it come. He let it stay. He let it pass. And with every step, he whispered inside his mind, "It's okay to feel. It's okay to remember. It's okay to heal slowly." He walked for 10 minutes, then 15. Then he stopped near the small river that crossed the edge of the neighborhood. He had never walked this far before. He leaned on the railing and looked at the water. It moved slowly, gently, like a long, soft breath. And suddenly, He felt something inside him soften, something deep, something quiet, something he had been holding tight for years. He let out a long breath, one of those breaths that feels like it comes from your soul. He didn't know he had been holding so much inside. He whispered, "I miss you, Sonny. Thank you for the time we had." And the wind carried his words away, like a soft message to the past. He didn't cry. He didn't break. He just breathed. For the first time in a long, long time, his grief didn't control him. His grief didn't close him. It opened him. He walked back home slowly, with a heart that felt a little lighter, a little freer. When he returned, he wrote in his notebook, Day 11, "Walking helped me breathe today. It helped me remember without hurting. Maybe this habit is teaching me more than I expected." He stared at the words. Then, for the first time in many months, he smiled a smile full of peace. He didn't know it yet, but this emotional healing was going to lead him into a new habit, a habit that would change his mind, his spirit, and his entire future. That new habit. On the 12th morning, Daniel woke up feeling different again, but this time, the feeling was warm. It wasn't excitement. It wasn't sadness. It was something quieter, something peaceful, something like the soft whisper of a new beginning. He sat up and looked at the sticky note on his wall, "Morning walk. 5 minutes." It made him smile, not because it was a goal, not because it was a responsibility, but because it had become a friend, a gentle friend that guided him every morning. He stood up, stretched, and opened the window. The air smelled fresh, almost sweet. Birds were singing softly outside, as if the world was saying, "Good morning, Daniel." He walked to the kitchen and poured some warm tea, and while he waited for the tea to cool, he felt a new thought rise inside him. A small whisper. Not a loud voice, not a strong idea, just a whisper. "Maybe I can add one more healthy habit." He didn't know what the habit should be. He didn't want anything big or difficult. He didn't want to break his rhythm. He just felt ready. Ready to grow, ready to learn, ready to take another small step toward a better life. He put on his shoes and stepped outside. The morning hugged him gently. As he walked, he thought about all the moments from the past days, the heavy ones, the light ones, the surprising ones, the peaceful ones. He thought about the old woman on the bench. He thought about Sunny. He thought about the neighbor who cheered him on. He thought about the small, simple pride growing inside him. And then, he heard something. It was his own breath. Slow, soft, peaceful. He listened to it. He felt it. He followed its rhythm. And suddenly, the whisper inside him became a little clearer. Maybe my next habit can be breathing. He stopped walking for a moment. Breathing, that sounded too simple, he thought. Too basic, too small. But then he remembered how breathing helped him during his sadness, how breathing softened his heavy heart, how breathing calmed his mind. He remembered that long, deep breath he took by the river, the breath that cleaned a part of his pain, the breath that opened his heart quietly. Maybe simple was powerful, maybe small was enough, maybe breathing was exactly the habit he needed. He walked toward the river again. This time, it took him less effort. His steps were lighter, his heart was open, his mind felt curious, like a child discovering something new. He reached the railing and watched the water move. Everything felt slow, everything felt gentle. He placed his hand on his stomach and inhaled slowly. 1, 2, 3. Then he exhaled softly. 1, 2, 3. The world around him felt quiet, his mind felt quiet, his heart felt held. He did it again, then again, and with every breath, the whisper inside him grew stronger. This is a habit. A good one. A healing one. A habit my heart needs. He didn't push himself. He didn't try to meditate perfectly. He didn't try to do it right. He just breathed slowly and kindly. After a few minutes, he whispered, I will do this every day after my walk. And just like that, his second healthy habit was born. Not from pressure, not from stress, not from fear. From peace, from softness, from listening to himself. He walked home with a calm smile, and when he wrote in his notebook, his handwriting felt different, smoother, more confident, more alive. Day 12. I breathed by the river today. Slow, deep breaths. I felt calm. Maybe this is my next habit. He closed the notebook gently, feeling like he had opened a new door inside his life. He sat on the edge of his bed and closed his eyes for a moment. He didn't know why he did it. His body just wanted a few seconds of quiet. He inhaled. He exhaled. He smiled. Peace, he whispered. He dressed, tied his shoes, and stepped outside. His walk felt easy today, like his body knew the path by memory. The bakery smiled its warm smell at him. The tree bent in the wind like it was waving. The sky was soft and blue. But today, something felt different. The world didn't feel loud. It felt still. Not silent, still. Daniel walked toward the river, feeling the calmness around him grow with every step. When he arrived, the water looked like glass, smooth, shiny, peaceful. He sat on a small bench and placed his hands gently on his knees. Then he closed his eyes. At first, his mind jumped around. Little thoughts, little worries, little questions. That was normal. Thoughts don't disappear just because you want quiet. They float around like small clouds. He let them float. Then he inhaled slowly, softly, deeply. He felt the air moving into his lungs, expanding his chest, warming his body. He held it for a moment, not forcing, just resting. Then he exhaled, long, slow, gentle. The air left his body like a long, soft sigh, like letting go of something he didn't need anymore. He did it again and again and again. Slow breaths, still mind, quiet heart. And something beautiful began to happen. He felt grounded, like he was touching the earth with his whole being, like he belonged to this moment, like he was exactly where he needed to be. He felt safe, safe with his thoughts, safe with his memories, safe with himself. He opened his eyes slowly. The world looked clearer, not because it changed, but because he changed. He whispered, I needed this. I really needed this. For the first time in his life, Daniel understood something important. Stillness is not empty. Stillness is full of healing, full of clarity, full of quiet strength. Walking cleaned his body, but breathing cleaned his heart. He walked home slowly, not wanting to break the beautiful calm inside him. He made tea, sat at his table, and wrote in his notebook. Day 13. I found a quiet space inside myself today. Breathing helps me see the world clearly, maybe. I am learning to take care of myself. He gently touched the page with his fingertips. This wasn't just progress. This was transformation. And soon, Daniel's two small habits, walking and breathing, would lead him into a third habit. A habit that would shape his entire future. But that part of the journey is coming next. Daniel opened his eyes with a sense of gentle purpose. He didn't rush. He didn't push himself. He simply breathed in the soft morning air and let his body wake up slowly. He sat on the edge of his bed, his feet on the ground, and felt the quiet calm inside him. The calm was becoming familiar now, not every moment, not every day, but often enough that he felt it as a part of him. He smiled softly. Then he stood up, washed his face, warmed his hands, tied his shoes, and stepped outside. Today, the sky was a soft gray. Clouds moved lazily across it, like they were half asleep and had nowhere to go. But Daniel liked it. He liked how calm it looked, how peaceful, how gentle. He walked slowly toward the river, then crossed the street, past the bakery, and followed his usual path. Step, step, step. A simple rhythm. A quiet rhythm. A rhythm that warmed his heart. When he reached the river, he sat on the same small bench as yesterday. He placed his hands on his knees and closed his eyes. He breathed in. He breathed out. He let the world slow down around him. After a few minutes, he opened his eyes and looked at the water. And suddenly, he felt something inside him, a tiny spark of curiosity. It felt like a soft question in his heart. What if I start learning something new? The idea surprised him. He hadn't learned something new in a long time. For years, he only did what he needed to do. Go to work. Go home. Sleep. Repeat. There was no space for new things. No space for hobbies. No space for growth. But now, after 2 weeks of walking and breathing, he felt different. He felt awake. He felt open. He felt ready. He looked at the water again and the thought returned, clearer this time. A new habit. Not a big one. Not a complicated one. Something small, something gentle, something that could help him grow. He let the idea float in his mind without choosing anything yet. He stood up and walked home slowly. Later that afternoon, he opened his old drawer, the one he never touched anymore. Inside, he found something covered in a little dust. A notebook. But not his habit notebook. This one was older, thicker, filled with empty pages. And on the first page was a small sentence he wrote maybe 3 years ago. One day, I want to write stories. Daniel stared at the words. He remembered the day he wrote them. He remembered the dream he once had, to tell stories, to create worlds, to write something that made people feel less alone. He smiled sadly. I forgot about this, he whispered. But then he felt something warm in his chest. Maybe this didn't have to stay forgotten. Maybe this dream was still alive, waiting patiently for him to return. He sat at the table, held a pen in his hand, and let himself breathe for a moment. He didn't force anything. He didn't tell himself he had to write a story. He just waited. And then, a small sentence appeared in his mind like a soft light. He wrote it down. Then another sentence came, then another, and suddenly, his hand was moving on the page, filling it slowly, calmly, warmly. He wasn't writing a story yet. He was writing a feeling. A moment. A memory. But that was enough. When he finished, he looked at the page and whispered, I think, this is my third habit. It was writing, not perfect writing, not long writing, just simple writing, like breathing with a pen. He closed the notebook gently and placed it on the table, right next to his habit notebook. 2 notebooks. 2 companions. 2 soft beginnings. He stood up, feeling a quiet excitement inside him. Walking had healed his mornings. Breathing had healed his heart, the kind of rain that makes the world slow down, makes the streets shine, and makes the air smell fresh and clean. Daniel woke up to the sound of it tapping gently on his window. He lay there for a moment, listening, breathing, feeling peaceful. He thought about skipping his walk because of the rain, but then he smiled. No. I can walk with the rain, he whispered. He put on a light jacket, grabbed an umbrella, and stepped outside. The world felt different today, quiet, soft, like it was wrapped in a warm blanket. He began walking slowly. The sound of raindrops on his umbrella felt almost musical. Tap, tap, tap. His steps matched the rhythm. It felt calming, steady, safe. When he reached the river, it looked darker today, but still beautiful, still gentle. He sat on the bench and simply listened to the rain. He breathed in the cool, fresh air and felt it fill every part of his body. And then, without planning it, without thinking too much, he whispered a few words softly. This morning feels like a story. The moment he said it, his heart opened a little wider. He whispered again, this time a little louder. I want to write about the rain. He walked home quietly, umbrella tapping with every step. When he entered his room, he placed the umbrella near the door and opened his writing notebook. The page looked white, empty, waiting. He held the pen gently, and then he began writing. The rain fell softly today. It felt like the sky was breathing with me. He smiled. The words weren't perfect. They didn't need to be. They were honest. They were real. They were his. He continued writing, slowly, naturally, peacefully. He wrote about the smell of the air, the sound of the drops, the way the world looked softer, the way the walk felt different. He wrote until he felt full of calm, full of gratitude, full of quiet joy. When he put the pen down, he felt more alive than he had in years. He whispered, "I think I found my voice." Not a loud voice, not a perfect voice. A simple one. A gentle one. A voice that had been waiting inside him. That afternoon, he looked at his 3 habits. Walking, breathing, writing. 3 small things. 3 soft steps. 3 quiet changes. Together, they were shaping a new life, a life where Daniel wasn't just surviving. He was returning to himself. He didn't know it yet, but these 3 habits would soon work together, push him toward a moment that would change everything. A moment of courage. A moment of truth. A moment he never expected. And that moment. Daniel didn't wake up slowly. He didn't lie in bed listening to the quiet morning. He didn't stretch softly or breathe in peace. He woke up suddenly, with his heart beating fast and his mind full of energy. It felt like a spark inside him. A spark he didn't understand yet. A spark that made him sit up quickly and whisper, "Something is going to happen today." He didn't know what it was. He didn't know why he felt it, but it was there, a quiet excitement, a warm nervousness, a tiny sense of courage rising inside him. He washed his face, tied his shoes, and stepped outside. The world looked brighter today. Even the ordinary things looked new. The bakery's smell felt sweeter. The old tree looked taller. The sky looked painted with soft morning colors. Daniel walked with a little more strength in his steps. A little more confidence. A little more life. He reached the river, sat on the bench, and breathed deeply. Inhale, exhale. Then he closed his eyes and let his mind wander. He thought about walking, how it changed his mornings, how it cleared his mind, how it became a gentle friend. He thought about breathing, how it softened his heart, how it made space for peace, how it helped him face old memories. He thought about writing, how it brought back pieces of his old dreams, how it gave him a voice again, how it made him feel alive. 3 habits. 3 steps. 3 quiet beginnings. And then, for the first time, he asked himself a question he had avoided for years. What do I really want? The question felt big, too heavy, too full of possibility. He opened his eyes, watching the river move slowly in front of him. He whispered again, "What do I want for my life?" He waited. He breathed. He listened. And slowly, a small answer rose inside him, soft but clear. "I want a better future." Not a perfect future, not a big future, just a better one. A healthier one. A calmer one. A more hopeful one. He felt his heart beat faster. That spark grew warmer. And then, as if the universe was listening, his phone buzzed. He looked at the screen. A message from his coworker. "Hey Daniel, do you want to join us for a short evening walk after work today? We go every Thursday." Nothing big. Just 20 to 30 minutes. Daniel froze. His chest tightened, his hands felt warm, his breath stopped for a second. It was simple. A walk with coworkers. A small invitation. But to Daniel, it felt like courage knocking on his door. He wanted to say yes, but fear whispered inside him. What if he couldn't keep up? What if he felt awkward? What if he didn't fit in? But then, another voice spoke inside him, a new voice, a stronger voice, a voice built from 2 weeks of quiet progress. "Maybe I can do this." He looked at the message again. His fingers trembled a little. Then he typed slowly, "Yes, I'll join." He stared at the word send for 3 long seconds. Then he pressed it. His heart jumped, his breath shook, his whole body felt alive. Daniel didn't know it yet, but this small decision was the beginning of something big. Something that would push him out of loneliness and into connection. Something that would open a new part of his life. A brighter part. A warmer part. A part filled with people, movement, Daniel felt a strange mix of excitement and nervousness. At work, his hands moved faster than usual, his thoughts jumped around, his heart felt like it was walking faster than his body. He kept thinking about the evening walk. What would they talk about? Would he keep up? Would he look strange? Would he feel comfortable? But underneath all the questions, there was something else, a quiet pride. He had said yes, he had taken a step, he had opened a door he once kept locked. When work ended, he almost changed his mind, almost. For a moment, his old fear returned. "You can say you're busy," a small voice whispered. "You can go home," another voice said. "You don't have to do this," fear reminded him gently. But Daniel took one slow breath, then another, then another. He remembered the river. He remembered the rain. He remembered his writing. He remembered how far he had come. And then he whispered, "I promised myself a better future." So he stepped outside the building and saw them, 3 coworkers standing near the corner, talking, smiling, waiting. His heart beat fast, his steps felt heavy, but he didn't turn back. He walked toward them. "Hey, Daniel," one of them said with a warm smile. "We're happy you joined." Daniel smiled shyly. "Thank you," he whispered. "I'm a little nervous." They laughed kindly. One of them said, "Don't worry. It's just a slow walk. We talk, we relax, we move a little. That's all." And just like that, Daniel felt a tiny piece of his fear melt away. They began walking. The pace was slow, comfortable, natural. Daniel listened to them talk at first. He didn't say much. He didn't know what to say, but he felt safe just being there. They talked about movies, they talked about food, they talked about the weather, they talked about small things, simple, easy, friendly things. And slowly, Daniel joined in. Not loudly, not often, but little by little. A short answer. A small joke. A gentle smile. Every time he spoke, the group responded kindly. They welcomed his voice. They made space for him. He felt himself relax. His steps became lighter. His breath became easier. They walked for 25 minutes, and by the time they reached the end, Daniel felt something surprising. He felt happy, not loud happy, not excited happy, but warm happy, quiet happy. A kind of happiness he hadn't felt in a very long time. One of them said, "Same time next Thursday?" Daniel nodded. "Yeah, I'd like that." As he walked home alone, the evening sky soft and golden above him, he felt like he was stepping into a new world. A world where he wasn't alone. A world where he was growing. A world where he was part of something. He reached his home, sat at his table, and wrote in his notebook. Day 16. I walked with people today. I was nervous, but I did it, maybe. I am stronger than I thought. He closed the notebook and placed his hand on top of it. He whispered softly, "I'm proud of you, Daniel." And this time, he truly meant it. He didn't know it yet, but the next day would bring even more changes, new habits, new courage, and a moment Daniel woke up with a soft smile. The morning air felt calm and warm. The sky was painted with gentle pink and orange. He stretched slowly, feeling the little aches of yesterday's walk, but also feeling alive. He looked at the sticky note on his wall, "Morning walk. 5 minutes." He smiled, not because it was hard, not because it was exciting, but because he realized he was doing it, every day, without fail, even when he felt scared, even when he felt tired, even when it rained. Daniel's small heart swelled with quiet pride. This habit, small as it was, felt like a victory. A giant victory for a man who once felt stuck. He put on his shoes, stepped outside, and began walking. The streets were peaceful. The bakery smelled warm. The leaves on the old tree danced lightly in the wind, and Daniel felt alive, really alive. He reached the river, the place that had become his quiet home. He sat on the bench, closed his eyes, and took a deep breath. Inhale, exhale, slowly, softly, deliberately. He remembered how far he had come, from a man who barely left his house to a man walking through the streets with courage and calm. He whispered to himself, "I did it. I really did it." And for a moment, the world seemed to pause. The river flowed slowly. The birds sang softly. The air wrapped him gently, like a quiet hug. Daniel reached into his pocket, pulled out his notebook, and wrote, Day 17. I walked this morning and felt strong. I am proud of small victories. Even small steps can be giant. He paused, looking at the words. He felt something deep inside, a quiet fire, a steady confidence that had never been there before. And then he smiled again, because he knew something important. Victory doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't have to be big. It can be small, quiet, gentle, and still feel enormous. After his walk, Daniel sat by the window, watching the city slowly wake up. Cars moved softly on the street, people walked briskly, and the bakery bell rang as customers entered. He thought about yesterday's evening walk with coworkers, how nervous he had felt, how afraid he almost was, how he had taken that single step and joined them anyway. He realized something remarkable. One small step had caused a ripple. A ripple in his heart. A ripple in his courage. A ripple in his confidence. A ripple that made him feel more alive than he had in years. He thought about walking every morning, about breathing by the river, about writing in his notebook, all small things, all quiet, all gentle. But together, they changed him. He whispered softly, one step, one habit, one decision can change everything. He could feel it, not in a dramatic way, but in a steady, slow, meaningful way. His life was beginning to change from the inside out. Daniel thought about his future. He didn't know exactly what it would look like. He didn't need to. He knew he could face it, step by step, habit by habit, moment by moment. He smiled, feeling a calm power in his chest, and then he wrote in his notebook. Day 17. Evening. I see the ripple of my choices now. Small steps are powerful. Every habit, every action, every breath matters. I am changing, quietly but surely. He closed the notebook, took a slow, deep breath, and whispered to himself, I can do this. I can grow. I can live. The sun set gently outside. Its golden light touched the streets. The river reflected the sky softly, and Daniel sat in quiet peace, feeling alive, feeling present, feeling ready for the next step in his journey. Because now he knew the truth. Life changes not in giant leaps, but in the small, quiet, steady steps we take every single day. And tomorrow, Daniel was ready to take another one. Daniel woke up to the sound of birds singing outside. He opened his eyes slowly, feeling the calm he had built over the past 2 weeks. Walking, breathing, writing. These habits were no longer chores. They were companions, gentle, kind companions guiding him quietly. He stretched and whispered to himself, Today, I will try something new. He wasn't sure what it would be. He only knew his mind felt ready, open, curious. He had been reading a small article online last night about gratitude. It was simple, writing down 3 things you are grateful for each day. He thought about it as he dressed, and his heart felt a little flutter. Maybe this could be my next small habit, he whispered softly. He walked outside, breathing in the morning air. The streets were quiet. The world felt soft and welcoming. By the river, he sat on his usual bench, opened his writing notebook, and wrote 3 simple things he was grateful for. 1. The peaceful morning. 2. The birds singing outside. 3. The river that always waits for me. He smiled softly. Writing these 3 small things made his heart feel lighter. It connected something in him, his mind that planned and worried, and his heart that dreamed and hoped. Daniel realized something important. Gratitude was like a bridge between fear and courage, between hesitation and action, between loneliness and connection. It was a habit that could make him stronger, not by force, not by pressure, but by gentle awareness. He closed his notebook gently and whispered, "Small habits, small awareness, they can connect your heart and mind." And in that quiet moment, he felt something soft but certain. He was learning how to care for himself, how to listen to himself, and how to grow without rushing. This habit, he knew. Day 19 arrived, and Daniel woke up with a sense of calm determination. He stretched slowly, then sat on his bed and reflected on all that had changed. 2 weeks ago, he had barely left his apartment. He had been stuck in routine, in fear, in quiet sadness. Now, walking, breathing, writing, and practicing gratitude had quietly changed his rhythm. His mornings were alive, his heart was open, his mind was clear. He smiled softly, then whispered to himself, "I am stronger than I thought." He walked outside, following the familiar path to the river. The air smelled fresh, the birds sang gently, the world felt soft and alive. He walked slowly, breathing in and out calmly. Then he sat on the bench, his notebook open in front of him. He reflected on yesterday's gratitude habit, how it connected his mind and heart, how it reminded him of simple joys, how it reminded him he was capable of noticing beauty. Daniel wrote in his notebook, Day 19, I feel strong today, not because I am perfect, not because life is easy, but because I am doing small things every day to take care of myself. I can face more. I can grow. I can live fully. He closed the notebook and felt a warm pulse of pride. This wasn't about showing anyone. This wasn't about success or achievement. It was about quietly realizing his own strength, the strength that had been there all along, the strength that grew from small, steady actions, the strength that whispered, "You can do this." He stood up, looked at the flowing river, and smiled softly. A deep sense of calm filled him. He understood something important now. Life doesn't require giant leaps. It requires small, steady, consistent steps. Each step builds strength. Each step builds courage. Each step builds a life worth living. Daniel breathed in deeply, letting the air fill his chest, and whispered softly, "I am ready for the next step." And in that quiet morning, he realized that his journey, the journey of walking, breathing, writing, and gratitude, had given him something far greater than habits. It had given him life, his life. And now, Daniel was ready to face whatever came next, with courage, clarity, and heart. Day 20 arrived with a soft golden light spilling through Daniel's window. He woke up slowly, feeling the calm he had built over the past weeks. His 3 habits, walking, breathing, and writing, were steady companions now, and his new habit, gratitude, was growing quietly inside him. He stretched gently and whispered, "Today, I want to try something different." He dressed and stepped outside, noticing the warmth of the morning sun, the sound of distant laughter, the smell of fresh bread from the bakery. As he walked toward the river, he noticed a small child struggling to ride a bicycle. The child wobbled dangerously and looked frustrated. Daniel's heart felt a small tug. He approached slowly, smiling gently. "Do you want some help?" he asked softly. The child looked up, surprised, then nodded shyly. Daniel crouched down and held the bicycle steady. He guided the child's tiny hands and feet, showing how to balance and pedal. After a few minutes, the child rode steadily on his own, laughing brightly. Daniel clapped gently and smiled. The child's mother waved from nearby, thanking him with a warm smile. Daniel felt something he hadn't expected, a deep connection, not just with the child, but with life itself. He realized that his habit had done more than help him feel calm or strong. They had prepared him to reach out, to connect, to help, to participate in the world again. Sitting on the riverbank afterward, Daniel reflected quietly, I am not alone. Life is not just about surviving, it's about connecting, sharing, and feeling together. He opened his notebook and wrote, Day 20. I helped a child today. I felt a connection I didn't know I had. Life is bigger than my fears. I am part of it. Daniel closed the notebook softly, feeling a warmth in his chest. A quiet, steady warmth, the warmth of belonging. Day 21 began quietly. Daniel woke up with the soft smile of someone who had discovered something precious. He followed his usual routine, a slow morning walk, deep breaths by the river, and a few minutes of writing. But today felt different. There was a new energy inside him. A sense of clarity. A sense of completeness. As he walked, he thought about his journey, the first hesitant steps, the small victories, the moments of fear, the tiny, steady growth. He realized that transformation doesn't come all at once. It comes slowly, quietly, through small, repeated actions. He sat by the river, closed his eyes, and breathed deeply. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. He felt his heart open. He felt gratitude for himself, for his courage, for the steps he had taken. Then he opened his notebook and wrote, Day 21. I see my own growth. I see how far I have come. Small steps, small habits, have led to big change. I feel stronger, calmer, and alive. I am proud of myself. He paused, reading the words slowly, and in that quiet moment, he understood the truth fully. Change is not about perfection. Change is about consistency. Change is about showing up every day, even when it feels small. Daniel smiled softly. The sun reflected on the water. The birds sang. The world moved gently around him. He whispered, I am ready for the future. I am ready for life. I am ready for me. In that moment, Daniel felt a deep peace. A quiet joy. A sense that he was no longer the person he was 3 weeks ago. He had changed, not in dramatic leaps, not in loud ways, but in steady, quiet, meaningful ways. His habits, walking, breathing, writing, and gratitude, had transformed him from the inside out. He rose from the bench, walked home slowly, and felt the strength of his new self. Every step felt grounded, every breath felt calm, every heartbeat felt alive. Daniel's journey had reached a new chapter. A chapter of courage, clarity, and connection. A chapter where he truly believed in himself. A chapter where small steps led to big transformation. Thank you so much for joining today's lesson here at Mr. English Lab. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below telling me what you want to learn next. Your support helps the channel grow and helps me create more lessons for you. Take care, keep practicing, and I'll see you in the next class.